For December 20th, 2019, we talk about Devotion, Hunt Showdown, and we do some Christmas shopping for game characters. Welcome to Level 309. My name is Kole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia.
I'm Jala Prendez.
And I'm Ben Merkel.
And you are listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. I'm not sure. We haven't talked about this. I'm not sure if this is the last episode of the year or not.
Oh,
wow. Yeah. No, usually the week that contains Christmas, we like to cordon it off. But we can talk about that off the air, since that involves travel plans and things like that.
I done burned up all my vacation days, so I'll be around other than Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Yeah. Well, it's been the longest since you've been on, so why don't we talk about what you burned up your vacation days on?
Yeah. I am, of course, talking about the Duckfeed sanctioned vacation that we are given every single year. One of the many perks of being on the network. It's a supplementary vacation to whatever your normal amount is.
I'm a real taskmaster. Yeah.
Your flight was delayed. Too bad. I'm docking you the day.
But it's only one member of the show gets the vacation, so Dennis had it this year.
Won the lottery. Yeah. No, we actually won the lottery in terms of having awesome friends.
Ooh.
Because there's a couple that we CrossFit with, or rather a family that we CrossFit with, who has a timeshare in Puerto Vallarta, which is on the west coast of Mexico. It's like a resort town. And they weren't going to use their week. They had a bunch of vacation kind of rolled up, or however timeshares work. And they were just like, anyone want to go for a week this year? We're not going to use it. And so we were like, hell's to the ass. What do we owe you? And they're like, nothing. You just take it.
Whoa.
Yeah, which was awesome. So we paid for our flights out there. But other than that, it only cost us one 90-minute timeshare pitch, which was fun.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, first off, I'm not knocking it all. Puerto Vallarta was beautiful. We had a ton of fun. The resort was awesome. It was perfect being kind of right next to a pool for the kids. We were on the beach. And my God, there's no better environment for a young, like a little 5-year-old than a beach. Just the ability to just go tearing off in any direction and always have sand to dig in and water to swim in right next to you is just perfect. Yeah. Water was warm. That's nice. So it was fantastic.
Had they ever been to the beach before?
That's a great question. They've been to like beach-like things, but I think it's all been on lakes and stuff. I don't think they've been to the ocean. So that was fun. We watched some sunsets, some sunrises. The interesting thing is that while it's like just beautiful out all the time, they're getting the same lessened amount of daylight that we are.
Okay.
And so it's really easy to get up to watch the sunrise or go out and watch the sunset. So that was super nice. But yeah, you can just tell that the timeshare sales pitch is wearing thin.
Yeah.
Like, they're pretending like they're making conversation with you, but really they have a set of questions they got to ask to get a set of numbers down for like, oh, where'd you go on vacation before in the past 2 years? And about how much did you spend? And then some guy comes over and reads you a pitch that's based on the numbers that you just fed them.
Yeah.
As if you're supposed to be like, what? Oh my God. How do you know me so well?
That was just like the best.
Yeah. So, tell them no enough times. And I think finally because they act all surprised when someone doesn't immediately love the idea. They're like, why? Why not? What's your problem, essentially, in more professional terms?
Right.
And the line that finally got us out of the meeting was us being like, look, we can't make an X number of year commitment. We might, who knows, 5 years we could be missionaries in Africa or something like that.
Right.
And so we just, and he was like, huh. All right, see ya. It's like I broke the salesman. Yay!
Oh gosh, maybe that's a line they can't cross.
Yeah, it's like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna call me out on my missional interest, or are you gonna press through and tell me I really should be, not exploring that route so I can have a timeshare? So there's the silver bullet for all the timeshare werewolves out there.
Yeah. So I think that they are like the weird like Venn diagram that traces out what kind of mark they're looking for is the person who will feel bad about wasting their time, but not understand that there are scammers who are trying to scam them.
Yeah, it's like feel bad about wasting the scammer's time, but not feel bad about getting their own time massively wasted.
Right.
That's the crazy inversion that gets people. And there's people that swear by it. I believe that there are people out there that are happy with their timeshares. I think on a relative scale, the people that gave us the place are in that camp. So not to knock it, not to say it can never work, but
yeah. But
there was one afternoon of awkwardness. It literally was a 90-minute pitch. They were good about honoring that.
That's good.
And we just had a beautiful time. So there was my favorite thing. We were there over Thanksgiving, and we found a place called Taqueria Lindo, and it's in like the marina area. This is Travel with Rick Steves, and they had a drink, a margacheve, which you got the margarita, and then you got the margarita that you turn the beer upside down in.
Okay.
And then you got the margarita that you turn the beer upside down in that you then make with mezcal. Okay. Or add mezcal to, which is just another like tequila variant. Well, yeah. And they used like chili salt. There's like a more savory chili. I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head. But it was a savory margarita. And it is boozy.
Did it involve any kind of shellfish juice? Because that seems like how they would try to make a savory margarita.
I cannot say for sure. I don't think so. I think they relied heavily on this chili kind of taste to it. So,
okay.
And it's not. Go ahead.
Are you thinking of the oyster stout right now? I feel like I can hear that in your voice.
Well, yeah. I forget when I talked about the oyster stout recently. It probably was on this show, but no, just like any kind of whenever somebody says, "Oh, this is like a savory drink," what I'm thinking of is like a Caesar as opposed to a Bloody Mary. Just like, oh yeah, this involves Clamato, which I understand people like. I find it vile.
Yeah, I'm not usually a fan, so I'm going to go out on a limb and say it wasn't in this, just because I feel like I would have recognized that and not liked it. But it was delicious. It was the one place on our last night we went back there just so we could drink the margacheve again. Cool. And so that was good stuff. Yeah. And in general, it was a great vacation. So nice. I did that. We flew back. This was a vacation with the kids. I think I mentioned that, and this is probably. It went incredibly well for that. They traveled really, really well. And then I came back and promptly got strep throat. So I would have been on last week, but was just coming up, and I'm like, I'm about to die.
Yeah,
I will give you all strep through this microphone.
Strep's not a joke.
No. Well, and I looked at, my throat in the mirror and was like, oh, that's grizzly, white spots and all the stuff I won't go into detail on unless anyone is eating and listening.
Ben is, absolutely.
Yeah. I was like, this is grizzly. I gotta make a doctor's appointment. So I did. And the next morning I woke up and I looked at it. I was like, oh my God, this looks so much better. Like, maybe I don't. I should keep it. I'll go to the doctor's appointment, but it looks 100 times better. Yeah. And the doctor opens up and he immediately just, oh, that's grizzly. I was like, buddy, you should have seen it yesterday.
There were no white spots anymore because it was all red.
Yeah, right. It just exploded and it was a smoldering heap back there. But I'm through that. I'm feeling better now.
Good.
I'm back to my winter normal of just a slight sinus infection. How it goes. And excited to chat about some video games I haven't in a minute.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you back. I realized I said something like with no context that sounded like I was putting Ben on blast. The reason I said Ben it was definitely eating is because Ben rushes home from work and often grabs dinner because of the time difference. And
I didn't respond to it because I was eating in that moment.
Yes. Yeah. So I wasn't like blowing up Ben's spot or saying something weird.
Is your Skype icon still the distorted picture of you? No, it's not. For the longest time, it was like a distorted picture of you to look very bloviated.
That was his Twitter icon.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Right. Remember?
Yeah, that's still there.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's me. It's been fun. I got a lot of fun stuff to talk about.
Cool.
Yay.
Jala, you've been away the second longest, but I want to take a moment and promote something just in case people didn't have context for it that involves you. We did a bonus level over the weekend. Yeah. Now,
Sure did.
You had finished Danganronpa V3 here recently, and we hopped on and we talked about it for a little bit over an hour, and people seemed to like it.
Yeah, so it doesn't just talk about Danganronpa V3, it also goes into a little bit about the series as a whole. Not in any super great detail, but like just kind of overarching beats and recurring themes, that kind of nonsense. So it is not me getting mad at the game for an hour, so like don't expect it to be that, because it's not.
We're coherent for most of it.
And I was so sad. There's a point when I do this maniacal laugh that everybody that has listened to it so far has mentioned the laugh. That was actually take 2.
Yeah.
The first take was better and more sinister and more awesome, and it got lost.
Yeah, it was
like
off
me
the cuff.
it was me recreating it. So I guess I did a good job if everybody thought it was like, so good. So maybe sometime it will come out organically again on this show, and then everyone will get the full experience, the richness, and can savor it.
The original was too good. It was too good for anybody but me and you. So, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So.
But what you been up to, Jala, besides recording that?
Like just finishing up, bouncing back from being sick when I was. I had like some stomach issues for like several days, and I was out for like a week, and I finally got back to doing some of my working out last week, which was cool. And I have found my tribe.
Cool.
So there's a rucking club that I joined recently, and I mentioned it on the last show that I was on, Seabrook, which is in Seabrook, Texas. See what they did there? And the guy who started it, Rick, is really awesome. He's a nerd, and he used to podcast about sci-fi stuff, except then life happened, so he can't podcast about it anymore. But we talk about nerd things and rucking and stuff, and we BS around a lot, so it's really cool. Except he always has to go rucking at like 6 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, which is the one day that I don't train.
Right.
And so, I get mad mildly because I have to wake up at like 4:15 to get over there to go.
Right.
And waking up at 4 something on the day that I don't train to go do 6 miles or whatever is kind of like,
yeah.
Damn it, yeah. Damn it, Rick. Yeah, but anyway, so I told him I was gonna like bring that up on the show.
Yeah.
So there we go, Rick. There you go. I got you, bro. But anyway, so yeah, it's been a lot of fun because I've actually found a few folks who do the rucking things who are also nerds of some stripe who did not come from our community.
That's good.
I've grown a few of them myself by having them inspired to ruck after listening to me talk about it so much. So it's nice to have some organically.
Encounter some in the wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And other than that, I am starting up a couple of new training programs. I definitely can train myself. I can program myself very well. I program another person who is a rucker and a mountaineering person. So, hi, Alex. But at the same time, I'm always looking to learn more stuff and see what else I can pick up. So one of the programs that I am doing is from a rucking club. It's a very established program called Heavy Drop Training. And from what I see so far, it's really basic. And I program a lot more than that and stuff. But we'll see what happens when I'm actually starting it up. If there's any curveballs and anything like that, anything new that I can incorporate into my own stuff once I go back to programming myself. The other one is done by one of the Go Ruck selection finishers, that's like a 48-hour complete beatdown solo event, the hardest event that Go Ruck runs. And he is a CrossFit coach guy who owns a gym. And, he used to be in the military in special forces and all of that kind of stuff. So I am interested to see what I can learn from him. But we will see. So far, again, kind of the same thing. It's like, I program a lot more than what he's offering. So that's why I'm combining the two of them and putting them together, and maybe that'll equal about what I do to myself. So we will see. We will see if I have to supplement it or what. So, I will probably be talking about that in the future. But for now, that's all I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben, how about you?
Not much. I had a quiet weekend purposely because I'm going to be traveling next weekend. So I repotted my plants. I learned a song on the piano, and I slept full nights. It was pretty good.
That sounds badass.
Sleeping is amazing.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. What kind of plants do you have there?
I'll post the picture, but I have 5 plants. Half of them might be dying, but they're dying really slowly enough that it seems like they're doing okay, I guess.
Not to get too real for you, but we are all dying.
Thanks, Tyler Durden.
Oh, no.
Cool.
That was almost a sinister laugh. Come on. That was weak.
I'm happiest with, I have a pothos plant that I got from a friend in Portland that I carried up just 2 leaves of like 6 months ago, and I've already repopulated it, so it's like 7 leaf plants now.
Cool.
Hooray!
Yeah.
Nice. I also, things have been going quiet over here. No real huge stuff. Just getting braced for Duckstream, because that always it takes a chunk out of me, guys. And it's like right before Christmas, so
and that'll be happening right now as the episode's released.
Just about,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, December the 20th here. Then going through this weekend. It'll be a good time. But
I'm excited.
It'll. So speaking of, since we're coming up on the end, Dennis, I need to get you the candidates for Toady and Atoady.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Woo.
So watch the.
Also, I'm going to be relieving Kole for a couple of hours on the Saturday morning.
You are.
My shift starts at 9 a.m. I don't know what I'm playing yet. It will be decided by the time this actually drops. I do not know as of this moment what I'm playing quite yet. But you should come by and see me on Saturday morning. Yeah. And Jeremy and Gwen and everybody else who's going to be there. Not that you shouldn't see Kole too.
Well, yeah.
I think we're supposed to be hanging out with you too, right, Kole?
If you want to, yeah. I'll have a Discord open for co-hosts and community members, things like that. I'm going to keep not to leave anybody out who wants to be in there. I'm going to keep it small to people I've talked with, just because that'll be easier than having it open for everybody. But yeah, it'll be it'll be a little hangout there. It'll be a good time. But streaming event for in support of the Trans Active Gender Project. Yeah. So I've been just getting ready for that, which it's not that like I'm not doing anything interesting, just like coming up with art assets and dealing with technical stuff and writing out a little walkthrough for Silent Hill 4, because that's the game I'm going to be playing, and I don't want to get stuck. So yeah. So there's all of that. How do you all feel about getting started?
Let's do
this.
Yeah, we've got the regular kind of show for you, the grind, the multiplayer, and the end boss. And why don't we get started with the grind? The grind, where we talk about the games we have been playing over the past period of time or so. Dennis, as the one who has been away the longest, I will go to you first.
Absolutely. And as we mentioned, I went on vacation while at the same time having Apple Arcade. So I'm about to do a little bit of a mobile game blitz on you guys.
Ooh, okay.
Yes, got to try a lot. There were 2 games the last time I was on that were recommended as like, hey, probably should check out while I have arcade games, which was What the Golf. And I'll start there, is freaking delightful.
I love it. It's great.
Yeah, and any time you kind of pull back to shoot and something moves that you weren't expecting to move, like I never knew there could be such a clear definition of joy. Mm-hmm. But like that is it. That just tickles my fancy so much. So you'll pull back on the golf club and the golfer flies forward, or you pull back on the soccer ball and the goal flies forward. Or my personal favorite that literally just had me in stitches was pulling back on the golf ball and having the hit meter be the thing that flies forward.
Yeah. Well, just with the golf has a huge variety of moments of unexpected delight.
Yeah, and here's a surprising amount of content, because there's all the all these gimmicks, kind of haha one-off levels that have some fun gimmick to it. Then you go back to them and there's some variant. One, you go back to them and you do it for par. Mm-hmm. So they've, even with all this LOL stuff, they've kind of put together a reasonable par for every single level. Then there's a variant that is sometimes, but not always, the same level. Just some completely new, thoughtful is the wrong word, but ingenuitive take on the level. And so there's just like the amount of creativity and ideas thrown out in this game is staggering. And yeah, some of it is referential, or like, oh, we'll fold in shades of this video game or that video game. And that's cute. But I don't think they ever get too reliant on references the way that potentially like a River City Ransom might have, or something like that.
Oh, you remember like Retro City Rampage kind of deal?
Excuse me. Yes. What did I say?
You said River City Ransom?
I mean, you know what I meant.
Yeah. The thing about those reference levels is they are still good levels.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and they are, and they at least in what I've played, they do not become so frequent and heavy-handed that it's like, okay, everything here is mugging something. There's still just some fun golf levels where stuff moves in unexpected ways. Yeah. And that's great. That's perfect. So I really enjoyed What the Golf. The other game that was like, I have to go play, and I have to find somewhere that I can play with the sound on, is Sayonara Wild Hearts. And unfortunately, like, the visual style of this game is fantastic. The soundtrack is banging. The gameplay, I just could not figure out for the life of me.
Okay.
So to some, like it had been billed as a rhythm game, but I didn't really feel any sense of rhythm going through it. Like I didn't feel like I was trying to do stuff to the beat. It was more like you're in a on rails flying level where you have to kind of dodge around the screen a la like a Star Fox. Mm-hmm. And that was just all set to a really good soundtrack. And so I never quite understood exactly, like, am I supposed to be doing something more rhythmic here? Even controlling it, and this might just be the fault of the iPhone. But I couldn't tell if it was a tap the left and right side of the screen type of deal, a drag your thumb and it follows your thumb, or drag your thumb and it's mimicking a thumbstick kind of deal. Like it just, there was a disconnect between how much I felt like I was actually controlling the character versus how much I felt like I was just watching them go through this really trippy, fun level. Yeah. So I kind of bounced off it. There might be something that I just missed, but that one was, I was excited to try and let me down. Whereas with the golf, I was excited to try and was everything that I hoped it was. Mm-hmm. So that's that one. I also came across Exit the Gungeon. And I've never
played,
that
exists, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've never played Enter the Gungeon, but it's kind of an isometric or top-down bullet hell game on PC.
It's like a Binding of Isaac with firearms.
Yeah. And this is that translated to 2D and made perfect for the iPhone. And this is the best simulated thumbstick game I have ever played in my life.
I'm trying to decide if that is staggering praise or extremely faint praise.
Yeah. No, and on a non-relative scale, it is very intuitive controls as well. So your left thumb, you're just pushing left or pushing right based on which way you want the character to go. And then the right, I guess it really isn't a thumbstick. The right thumb, you kind of flick or drag to do roll dodges and jumps. Mm-hmm. And so it's all, it's basically, flick in the direction you want to dodge or just kind of vaguely move left and right. And the incredible thing is that this is a shooting game without a shooting button. There's no button to shoot in this game.
Okay.
It's all completely automatic.
Is it just constantly shooting or?
Yeah, your character is constantly shooting. They automatically target whatever enemy is nearest. And for a game that has gun in the name, you would think that would be a detriment, but it works really, really well. You kind of, when you get into the flow state that all games like this go towards, you are just completely focused on dodging and ducking, diving, weaving, all that stuff through the crazy spray of bullets that's on the screen, while your character is kind of automatically just tagging whatever is closest to you. Mm-hmm. And that winds up with you feeling like a badass and still, feeling a lot of agency without being overwhelmed by controls on a touch screen. And it's just the perfect level of control for a game like this. Like it knows the limitations of the platform it's on, and it absolutely gets the most out. It puts its focus in all the right places, and the game is really good because of that.
That was one I was sure I was going to have to play on the Apple TV with a PS4 controller.
No, you will have no trouble whatsoever with a touchscreen. I never plugged a controller in or anything like that, so I can't speak to if it's like way better on a controller or not. The gimmick of the game, by the way, I kind of skipped over, is that your gun randomly changes every couple of seconds. Okay. And so you constantly kind of your decisions around where to be on the screen and where to dodge and all that are a little bit informed by, do you have kind of like an SMG that you need to be standing close to enemies, or do you have a sniper rifle that you should be standing on the other side of the screen? And so you don't have any control over what it changes to. However, the longer you go without getting hit, the higher quote unquote level your gun will be. Okay. And it didn't seem like that changed there's like a massive amount of different types of guns. It gets a little Ratchet and Clank, there's a beehive shooter and a bubble shooter and an everything shooter. There's an anvil shooter. That's the case in
Enter the Gungeon as well.
Yeah. I figured that was kind of a series gimmick. But basically, from what I could tell, the amount of damage that those different guns did was the thing that went up as your kind of modifier, represented by a D20, by the way, which I thought was interesting. Goes up. So that's fun. I think I beat it once, and I have about 35-ish attempts. So that's your success rate, at least at the point I was at. Okay. But I think I might be done with it. But it was a fantastic experience while I was playing. Nice. And then final game of the mobile blitz. Yeah. Any questions on those? I don't want to go too fast on this blitz.
Not question, but interested.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The final one that I played was actually a word game called Word Laces. Okay. And the gimmick of this game is that you get, two columns of bubbles next to each other that have letters in them. Sometimes it's a single letter, sometimes it's multiple letters. And you just kind of trace in between them to form words. There's a picture at the top of the screen, and every word relates to that picture in some way. Okay. And some of the pictures are really on the nose, like it's a collage of things, and you're just naming all the things in the picture. Some of them are really abstract, like here's a guy standing on a solar panel, and you have to extrapolate what words might be related to that based on what's on the screen. The word does not always use every bubble on the screen. However, there is always a pattern to the way the bubbles get laced together, which is it will always go left, right, left, right, left, right, and the lace will never move more than one slot up or down as it changes. It could be even, it could be one up, it could be one down. And so you can, it's just the right level of puzzler. Like there are straight up word scrambles where you see a jumble of letters and you have to make words out of it. And that kind of can fry your brain a little bit too much. There's just enough guidance to it that you can kind of, even if you don't quite see exactly what the word is, you're like, okay, it looks like these letters can't go together if I trace them like that. So it'll be like this, and that kind of guides you to the right answers as you go. Yeah. And then as you level up, you get different shoes that change the style of lace that you're lacing everything together on. So it's the thematic thing, but it's just enough of a puzzler to kind of fill your idle time and feel like you're stretching your brain a little bit. It's not like a real steam coming out of your ears thinking experience. Yeah. Which is good. I think that's exactly what it's trying to be, and it's very successful at that.
Yeah, simple, like almost like a jumble. A more structured jumble. It's really messing me up because the icon for it is very similar to the icon for an old text editor I used to use called Text Wrangler, which was a W made out of rope instead of a W made out of laces.
That's funny. Yeah, this is a W out of shoelace. So that's been fun. That's the mobile blitz right there. That's everything that I've been playing. I still got some grindstone in there, but I've already talked about that.
Oh yeah. Yours is the only opinion about Sayonara Wild Hearts that was not extremely glowing. I think everybody else though kind of put in the caveat that this is more of an audiovisual experience than straight up just a game. So I think the stuff that you mentioned being good about it is less of a everybody acknowledges that stuff is good in that.
Yeah, it might be I went in expecting more of a game than it meant to be, and that was just a missed expectation. So no fault of it on that. Cool. So that's the mobile blitz. I've been playing. There was a free weekend for Hunt Showdown, which is a grittier version of the Cycle.
Okay.
Almost. So it is the Cycle meets The Shining. Maybe better said, the Cycle meets Resident Evil. Okay. So that'll pique your interest, Kole. There are, I believe, it's a giant. Everyone drops in on a giant map. There are 12 players, usually in teams of 2, and everyone can. The map is populated with zombie Resident Evil style creatures. That you have to work around, and there's lots of broken glass and twigs and so it is very easy if you're not paying attention to make a lot of noise, which the game is recommended to be played with a headset on for binaural audio. And so, the idea is you want to stay quiet. You don't want to let other players know where you are, and you don't want to attract the zombies to you. But what you're looking for are clues to whatever your big bad is. And there might be 1 up to 3 kind of big bads somewhere on the map. Every time you find a clue, it grays out an area of the map to show you where they are not. Okay. And then on your third clue, you will get an explicit, they are here, circle drawn around a location. But it's possible to stumble onto them before then, even.
Do you want to do that? Or are you not ready from having gone?
There's no power progression within a game. Okay. So you start out as strong as you're ever going to be. Okay. So if you find them right away,
you drop empty-handed and you want to get into some houses to get rifles and stuff.
Okay. You drop in with your weapons and all that. You can pick some stuff up in the level, but it's so easy to find. My God, the sledgehammer per capita of this world is ridiculous. It's on it's on every hay bale. There's a sledgehammer. Turkey in every pot, and a sledgehammer in every hay bale. But anyway, when you find this big bad, you fight them, and each one has its own kind of gimmick that you have to work around. One's poisonous, one is just a big meathead that you gotta face down. I forget the final one's like a crazy spider that can jump around. But obviously, if you're using your arsenal, which you're going to have to take this thing down, you have to make a lot of noise to take these things down, and so it usually takes
the horde.
Yeah, you're kind of everyone. Here I am, and in fact, if you're in the game and you start hearing a lot of gunfire, over a sustained period of time, you can reasonably assume, okay, someone has found a high value target.
Yeah.
Once it's dead, you can there's a period of time, I think they call it banishing, where you have to wait for it to kind of despawn, and it will leave behind 2 tokens, which are like this is the thing you want to end the game with. And then the people who, took it down, or whoever is able to grab the tokens, needs to get to an escape point with those tokens.
Okay.
So
you're looking to, if you want to, you can kill the person and take their token.
You've got it.
Okay. Yeah.
And so the dynamic is really like, okay, if I start this fight with the boss, do I think anyone is nearby enough to come and try to third party me? Once I finish the boss, like, do I head there? There's usually 3 exits at varying degrees of distance. I finish the boss. Do I make and everyone knows when a boss has been finished. Do I make a break for the closest exit, knowing that people are probably setting an ambush there as we speak, or do I go try to confuse them and run across the map to the exit, knowing that's more time I'm in the game and more chances to get killed by.
Well, I mean, you could get got by any like an environmental hazard, right? Or by like an enemy, and then
And where in the cycle, the environmental enemies, except around very specific objectives, aren't that much of a threat. Just one enemy can do you in really easily. The time to kill is I mean, most of the weapons will one hit you. Yeah. And most of the enemies, if you are not very careful, can take you out just on their own. So, it's very dark, very gritty, very Resident Evil-esque, and was an interesting experience. Maybe it's just because I was new to the game. I felt like I spent a lot of time traveling between objectives. Yeah. Like, if you're searching for clues, you run towards the clue marker on your map, and there's not a lot else to do because you don't have to pick up weapons. You don't have to level up. Whereas in the cycle, you drop in and you're trying to earn credits. You're constantly trying to earn victory points. Like, there's a lot to do and a lot of ways you could go. This is more on rails, but it has everyone on rails towards a more explosive, confrontational, and very life or death scenario. So it's 2 different flavors of an emerging concept that I really like, which is, let's do battle royale, but let's have objectives in the map beyond just kill the other players.
Yeah. Is there any kind of, so other battle royale, specifically PUBG is the one that I played, the safe area gets smaller and smaller and smaller as a way to kind of add like a natural endpoint to a particular match. Is there a similar like marching wall of doom that happens on this, or is it more just kind of free form and the attrition happens fast enough that you don't have matches that go on forever?
Right. The every match has an artificial time limit, which I think is like 40 minutes or something like that. And if you're not by one of the exit points in that time, you die. Right. But that highlights something that makes this game truly unique, which is that your individual characters that you drop in with have permadeath. And like you recruit a hunter that starts out at level 1, and as you survive matches with them, they level up, they get more powerful as they go, which is a really interesting take and I've never seen before. So you might be a level 1 person dropping in next to a level 15 person, and that's going to be a bad time for you, Yeah. And so you kind of I would say you set your own objectives, except it's kind of explicit in the game. Like, hey, if you're new, probably don't go for the big bad. Just try to run around killing monsters to, level up, get some experience. Not within the game, but in the meta level of the game. Right. And then just try to escape alive for a couple rounds before you're ready to really get, you're strong enough to actually go after the monster. Yeah. And, if you go after the monster and bite it, sorry about you, you're dead. Yeah. And you have to start over again at level 1. So that is a really interesting take that I've not seen before in Battle Royale. Yeah. That's
several new ideas that they've added.
Yeah. And it ups the tension, right? In a game where one shot can kill you. Yeah. Having that meaning not just that you've lost the individual match, which you could be in the 35th minute, but you also then reset your progress on a character is really intense. That's punishing. Yeah. And Yeah, it might be too punishing for my taste, but I believe the level of punishing they are is intentional, which seems to be the theme of my game commentary this time around. Is like, it knows what it wants to be. What it wants to be is very punishing. It succeeds at that. I don't know if I like that. I'm intrigued by the game, and I will continue playing it. David turned me on to it, or excuse me, I won't say necessarily that I'll continue playing it. I have to see what it goes for after the free weekend is over here.
Yes.
Are there any people who are like way over leveled who like monsters aren't even a problem for them anymore, or?
No, I think the characters never get powerful enough that they can just mow down the boss characters. Okay. Certainly the little, the smaller monsters that are just in the world, can become not much of a threat but I think it has more to do with you figuring out how to deal with them than it does necessarily the level of your character. And okay. I'm betting some of that arc also applies to the bosses, because I think the people that are brazen enough to go, seek out and fight the bosses probably have down to a science how to kill it quickly enough that you're not just waiting around for someone to come and third party you.
Yeah.
So that was a super interesting experience, especially juxtaposed against the cycle. I think I still like the cycle better, just because it feels like a little bit more of a sandbox, where you're not, to truly win, you're not going to have to go super overt against other people. Whereas Hunt Showdown is like nope. You're gonna, if you want to win this, you're gonna have to kill some people.
Yeah, they seem pretty philosophically at odds.
Yeah, the win condition is not kills, but you cannot accomplish the win condition without killing.
Right.
If that makes sense. Whereas the cycle, people have done pacifist runs, and it's like I can win the match without ever firing a shot at another player. So, Harmony focused me likes the cycle a little bit better.
Yeah.
But there's a couple weeks worth of gaming for you. Any questions on any of that?
I got mine in while you were talking about it. Specifically, Hunt Showdown sounds pretty cool. Like, of the battle royale games I've heard spoken of here on the show, that sounds like the one that's like kind of most up my alley.
Yeah, David and I were talking like we would love to see this trend played out. And just people continue to innovate on the format, which, is going to happen. But to have a, 80-person lobby battle royale where everyone is on the same team against, a PvE objective could be really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Even thematically something, urban escape and evasion on a large scale where, you're a group of refugees trying to escape an authoritarian city or something like that. That would be really, really interesting. And your match score or the amount of XP you get would be determined by the number of total people that got out, not just whether you yourself got out. I think that would be a really interesting game. I would play that. All you bored devs out there listening, get on it.
If you're looking for an idea, guy.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's me.
Cool. Jala, gonna go to you now.
No, never.
Oh, okay. I can do mine if you want.
Okay, so yeah. It's fine. So, I have played a couple of games. The first one I will mention is called Bedtime Blues. It is a pixelated survival horror game that's on the Switch, and it allegedly takes about 2 hours to play start to finish, but I didn't make it that far. I still will talk to you about it anyway. It's made by one guy, Mark Han, or Han, I don't know how it's pronounced. It's essentially like Five Nights at Freddy's or Shut Eye, but you're a little kid with possessed toys that are trying to kill you in the night when you're trying to go to sleep. And your goals include survival and actually getting some sleep, too. So you have to kind of manage, listening for noises, turning off the alarm, which keeps on turning on, randomly throughout the night, and looking around for the possessed toys and stuff. So you have to fend them off with a flashlight that has to be recharged every few times that you flash it. And then you also have to turn off the alarm when it turns on, because it does that randomly throughout the night. And you also still have to try to fill up a sleep meter to finish the level. So there's also, before the fun starts, a free roam section where you can look around and you can get clues about the story itself. And you can also find collectibles that don't have anything to do with the story. They're just there, to give you something to do. So yeah, you choose when you go lay in the bed, and then once you lay in the bed, that's when all the fun starts, and then you have to try to survive the evil toys and all of that. I don't know if the alarm does anything other than just go off every once in a while just to freak you out. I don't know if it serves any other function in the game. Originally, I thought it was tied to when the toys attacked, but that does not seem to be the case. Just because I would hear noises and then the alarm hasn't turned on yet or anything. I think it's just another thing to manage.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I didn't make it all that far. I couldn't get through the first chapter. I kept on dying. And the load time was long enough that I didn't want to keep playing it, because every time you die, it reloads, and it'll give you a hint as to like what you need to do. But it's just... It took too long, and I'm like, I'm not that invested in playing this.
Yeah.
What I did, though, was I watched a bit of a Let's Play, and I can say that this is the type of game that I would really enjoy watching somebody else, but I don't want to play it myself. I'm fine watching somebody else play it.
Is it possible to turn off the pixelization shader?
I have no idea. I didn't poke around that much.
Yeah, I just this particular shader is something that I've actually seen a few times. I think that it shows up in oh gosh, what was that horror game we did for Watch Out for Fireballs a while ago? Like I'm scared. Yeah, I'm scared. Shows up in I'm scared a little bit, and specifically it showed up in a game that I did. I did an abortive stream of it because I didn't really care for it, didn't want to finish it. Called The Room Beyond, where it's like they have simple characters. They have simple character designs, simple asset designs, but they put a chunky like pixelation filter over it, and it gives me a horrible headache to look at. It's not like hand drawn like pixel sprite. Like it is still 3D movement and 3D motion and animation, but it is like quantized to a chunky pixel kind of thing, and just like I for some reason that particular aesthetic, it bums me out.
Yeah,
physically.
and also the bears that come and try to kill you that I can see do not seem to be animated. They're at the window or the door, and then they're closer, and then they're like in your face, and there's no animation for them. So I don't know that it would set you off for that reason. Although when you look around, of course, it is 3D at that point.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, the audio design seems to be pretty solid, but the soundtrack is really, really basic, and the menu is basic. So, you can tell really that this was made by a single person.
Right.
It's a very good little game for a single person to make, but you just have to, understand that.
Yeah.
So as you progress, though, deeper into the game, the encounters begin to become randomized, and then there's multiple toys that will invade simultaneously, which really infuriated the Let's Player I was watching.
Okay.
So just because when some of the toys, because there's some gameplay concerns, like when there's multiple bears arriving at the same time, certain audio cues will override the other audio cues, so the player will miss one of the advancing enemies, like you don't hear the cue for one of them. And then also there's one bear that requires the player to keep their eyes closed and let the bear pass, and that one doesn't have an audio cue at all. He's just there. So that's a bit of a concern as well. But the later chapters do end up forcing you to develop management strategies, because, you have to prioritize seeking the noise sources over looking for the bears physically. You have to, while your eyes are closed, you need to like rotate the view of the player, so that way when you open your eyes again, like you're already facing the window or the door or wherever they're going to be coming in, that kind of a thing, just to maximize your time when your eyes are open. Another thing that I noticed that some people did was rapidly opening and closing their eyes to verify whether or not, like, that one bear that shows up that needs to have the player's eyes closed to pass, like to make that one go away. They would just, like, open and close their eyes so that way they could immediately go back to using the flashlight on all of the other toys that are trying to come and kill them. So, there's apparently some parts of it that are kind of frustrating, especially in the randomization, but there's also some areas in which it seems to be pretty decent. But there isn't any blood or gore or anything. It's just like there's a bear in your face and then it game over screen, that kind of thing. So there's nothing like that. So I guess if you have a kid that's at an age that wants to play something like Five Nights at Freddy's, this would be acceptable for that, because there is, like, they use the audio and like the stress of the management of all of these different elements and the alarm and things like that as their way of making the horror happen, not so much like, here, let's show you something bloody and gross. So I don't really have anything else to say about it because I didn't get very far. I did watch a Let's Play. It seems like it's fine if you like that kind of a game. I just picked it up just because I was curious and I wanted to see what I thought.
It doesn't sound very fun.
Yeah, I mean, like, you also didn't like Five Nights at Freddy's, though. I mean, like, if you like that kind of a game, then, like, I'm pretty sure it'd be, serviceable. I'm sure it's not, being made by one person and being like a little indie title.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's not going to be up to the same caliber as others in its genre. However, like, it goes on sale. So, I mean, pretty cheap. Cheap is a good price if you want something to play, just to have something different.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's the first game I played. Any questions about that?
Cool. I do not.
Nope.
Okay. Cool. So the second game that I played is Cosmic Star Heroine. And this was given to me by Mai. So thank you, Mai. I finally got to this game that you gave me.
How is heroine spelled in the title?
Like a female hero.
Yeah, like a brave lady.
But yes. Yes. Haha. So it is a sci-fi RPG that's kind of in the style of Phantasy Star or Chrono Trigger, with a 16-bit JRPG aesthetic that even has, like, the choppy anime cutscenes and that kind of nonsense.
This is by Z-Boy Games, the same developer that did Cthulhu Saves the World and Breath of Death 7.
Yes. And so the inter-character dialogue, it really, to me, sounds like Mai talking to people on the Slack or the Twitter. So I just, every time I'm, like, watching the characters interact, I'm just like, this is Mai, the game. But so yeah, like, this was actually funded partially by a Kickstarter back in 2013, but it didn't release until 2017. And apparently every other version but the Switch version has bugs. So the Switch version, which is the one I played, is the one that's recommended.
Okay.
There are a total of 13 chapters. I'm currently on chapter 8, so I'm a little bit over halfway through the game at this point. It's apparently about 8 hours long. So, I'm around 4 hours into the game. So, I'll go ahead and tell you a little bit about how the mechanics and stuff work, because the reason why Mai gave me this game is because I had just finished I think it was Octopath Traveler that I was done with, and I was just like, I'm not grinding.
Yeah.
I'm not going to grind and finish this game because that's just too much grinding. And as a result of that, like a response to that, Mai was like, well, if you want an RPG, but you don't want to have to deal with all that battle stuff, you want it to be kind of battle light, then I think this would be a game for you to play. So you can opt into battles in the menu at any time, like in Cthulhu Saves the World, but there are some battles that do happen just automatically in the field as you walk around on the map, and it does that kind of like Chrono Trigger, where it doesn't switch to, a turn-based separate battle screen. It's all just on the same screen that you're walking around in.
Yeah.
And you also have the ability to adjust the difficulty at any time in the menu in between, fights and things like that. So
that's always nice.
Yeah, because like if you feel like I really want to be challenged, I'm going to up the difficulty. But then the next time you play, you're like, I'm real tired and I do not want to deal with it. You just adjust it down.
Yeah.
So that's cool. There's a bunch of player characters, PCs in here. So they hop in and out of your party, and they are amazingly easy to convince to join you. So, like, they really do kind of immediately, without question, kind of like show up and go, yeah, I'm on board. Cool.
Cool.
So yeah, like seriously, there's no existential crises here. These people are just like, all right, cool. Like you tell them, hey, your boss is a big evil bad man, and they're like, oh, all right.
But not say it that way.
Yeah, well, if that's the case, then I guess I'm going to be fighting with you, and we're going to go take him down. And never mind that I'm betraying everybody. He's got big metal shoes. And I think that that's probably why he's an evil man. I don't know. Like,
yeah,
it's just a thing. So whatever. Anyway, mechanically, going back to the mechanics, you have an HP bar, but you don't have an MP bar. Instead, they are charge-based, like the combat is charge-based. So you've got a style gauge that goes up and down depending on your abilities that you use and whether or not you charge it up in your equipment and things like that. And you also have a hyper charge meter that acts kind of like the boost point system in Octopath Traveler. So, like, it charges up every round. And then once you have a full bar, in this game, it just automatically makes the attack or whatever, the other, whatever ability you use that turn becomes more potent.
Okay.
So, and apparently all the different characters have different patterns for how all the gauges are best employed. Like, there's a character named Arete, which she has drones that she uses, and those have kind of like a delayed response before they actually do what they're supposed to do. Like, she spends a turn telling it what to do, and then it's like a couple of turns before it actually does what it's supposed to do. Like people. So I don't know. So anyway, there are other people who have shortcuts to make their style or their hyper bars speed up, in a crew faster. There's a character that can steal these things from other players and things like that. So, there's a lot of different elements, and all the characters have very distinct methods of fighting, that are noticeably different from one another. So, there's also a plethora of different status effects that all play a part in pretty much every single encounter. Unlike status effects in like any other RPG I've played where every once in a while they show up or like they might be a thing in one area. Yeah. It's like all the time. This shit is just always a concern.
Important question about status effects. Can you inflict them on enemies?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Cool,
like that's
cool.
one of the that's one of the crucial parts. I mean, yes, they can inflict them on you, but you very much want to be inflicting different status effects on the characters that you fight. Yeah. So, yeah. And other than that, there are supposed to be, like, it's one of the talking points that it's got 3 planets to explore. I've got 2 of them so far. Yeah. And you can also recruit NPCs as support characters that they don't show up in battle, but they show up in your menu, and then depending upon which one you have equipped basically at the time, it gives different party-wide boosts. Like the one that I've got right now gives like a physical attack boost or something. Yeah. But there's different ones that you can use. So depending upon your play style, you can pick a different one, or depending upon, like what characters you have in your party at the time. And you can also recruit NPCs to join your spaceship crew. So, they incentivize talking to people in different ways, even though a lot of times the dialogue is just standard RPG dialogue crap that is filler. But, so the gameplay itself is really the highlight for me, because the plot really does not grab me at all. And I very, very often find myself exiting from a dialogue exchange, wondering what was going on and what my objective is, because I don't remember.
Yeah.
I didn't fucking pay attention. Like, I read it, but it fell out of my head.
Oh no!
Immediately afterwards, like a sieve, it's just out of my head.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, all right. So a lot of times I'm just like walking around going, I gotta remember what I'm supposed to do. So that's my boat. And that I don't know. It's just the characters are fine. The fighting is fine. The plot I just cannot.
Yeah.
I cannot hold it in my head, but I did write down, I did research, so I can tell you what the story is. So you play Elysium, and she's an agent of the Agency of Peace and Intelligence. And while working on a mission, you find out that the head of the agency is a bad man who wants to use mind control to make peace and intelligence reign, because I guess you can't leave anybody alone and expect peace and intelligence from them.
Yeah.
So mind control is the solution. And we stole this guy's spaceship somewhere in there. And right now I'm in a Wild West looking place talking to some guy. And I don't know why, but he must know something because he knows mobsters. He's in like a room with some mobsters last I played. And so he must know stuff because the mob is there. Anyway, the humor is apparently something that really jives with a lot of folks on Twitter. But I'm often really just kind of recognizing this or that thing that's being said as something that is considered funny to someone.
It has the cadence of a joke.
It has the cadence of a joke, and I know that somebody finds it funny. And then somebody on my Twitter, right after I post something, says, I love this game. And I'm like, okay, cool. So there are lots and lots of references to other games, which RPG players will appreciate. Like, of course, you can fight Cthulhu if you want, because this is the people who made Cthulhu, saves the world. And then the pilot of your spaceship is named Mike.
No, I mean, okay, yeah, no, gotcha.
It's a Mike.
He's in space.
And then
space.
I wouldn't trust a chopper pilot named Mike after playing RE4.
Indeed. And so then there's also a battle between a giant mech and a kaiju, because why not?
Okay.
And then there's also a festival like in Chrono Trigger, but there's a scavenger hunt that you can do in there. So there's like a festival scene. And then there's an idol singer part where the idol singer joins you and is really OP, but her whole singing part is absolutely terrible. Like, I'm sorry, that cutscene is terrible, and then the music is terrible. It generally is atrocious, in my opinion. I am sorry if you like it. I am of a differing opinion. And then there's also a factory. Like, when I first started it up, I'm like, am I in Final Fantasy VII? Because that looks like a Mako reactor.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of stuff that just kind of cribs from stuff that people like. And that's kind of fun in a way, because, like, they're throwing at you a bunch of stuff that you know and are familiar with from other games, but at the same time, they're throwing at you a bunch of stuff from other games, and then, like, the actual plot of this game falls out of my head. So, I mean, like I said, the mechanics are solid enough. It is fun enough to play, and it is not frustrating to play, because they make so many, choices just for ease of use. So, to make it accessible and, not frustrating to go through. So that's good news.
Yeah, and that's continuing. Like, that's like this studio's thing. Zeboyd has endeavored to, like, do stuff that should really be standard now to make older style JRPGs friendlier to a modern audience.
Yeah. So, like, that's their steez. That's what they're doing. But at the same time, like, I when it came to, like, I didn't play Breath of Death 7, but I did play a little bit of Cthulhu Saves the World, and at least that had, like, an entertaining story to me. Yeah. Like, simple, but I mean, entertaining anyway. This one, I cannot keep the story in my head. So
that's a problem.
But this one is more fun to play than Cthulhu Saves the World, because I didn't finish that game because, like, it was just, the play wasn't as exciting for me as this one is. So, I mean, I will probably finish this game. But I kind of wish that they had done like an update to Cthulhu Saves the World or something.
Yeah.
Because if they had done an update to that one, I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more, just from a character / story perspective.
Yeah.
But I also know a person named Dave, and so like there's a character named Dave in this thing, and he's one of your main guys, and he's like a little hacker guy, and so like I'm yelling on Twitter about the character Dave, and then like the actual Dave that I know is responding to it humorously. So there have been some fun little discussions on the Twitter as a result of all of that. But anyway,
we all know a Dave. Don't be Dave.
Yeah.
Funny we're bringing this up. The one episode Dave Moneysmith isn't hosting.
I know, right? Exactly. So anyway. And I had mentioned something to the Dave I know from Twitter and said something about Moneysmith, and he's like, something well played, other Dave, or something. I don't know what I was talking about, but whatever it was just one of those situations. Dave is Legion. So, but anyway, that's the only other thing I played. Well, not really. I played something else, but I don't want this episode to go forever, so I'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
Any questions about Cosmic Star Heroine thus far?
More of a comment, but like your JRPG, if it doesn't have a quest journal, it's gotta have just like a 1-sentence blurb telling you what you are doing when you press the menu button to go look at your just something to jog the memory. Like tell me what I need to be doing at this moment. Because I could put this game down for 2 weeks and pick it up and not know what to do.
I was going to say, or make a game that makes people not want to put it down for 2 weeks.
Yes.
But I can be playing the game and just finish the conversation and not know what I'm doing.
There's also that.
I've done that before in reading, but I haven't done that in a video game yet.
Well, I have experienced this situation this week when I've been playing this game.
Yeah.
So if I remember after I finish it, and I remember what the ending is, I'll tell you about it next time I'm on.
Ben, what you been playing?
Yeah, I got 2 ones. Neither are new, so it's just updates. I played a whole bunch of Deep Rock Galactic over the weekend with some friends.
Ooh, okay.
Game still is pretty fun. I think that's kind of being a little bit of a replacement for Rocket League as a game that you can pick up and play for like 20 minutes to an hour.
I don't remember you talking about Deep Rock Galactic before.
Oh, perhaps I never talked about it.
I was going to say, if you did, I wasn't on the air.
Okay, I've played it off and on maybe for the past month or two. What this game's about, I guess, Dennis, have you played this game?
I have not, but I've followed it just as a potential really good co-op game.
Yeah, okay. All right, well then I can't remember where I've seen this before then. It's basically a co-op game similar to like Left 4 Dead-ish, but it's like a bunch of different games. It has a similar gameplay as like Astroneer, where that you have like procedurally generated caves that you can modify pretty easily and dig through with maybe a little bit more difficulty than you can in Astroneer. And then they have a really good class system where there's 4 different classes that all have their unique abilities. But the basic premise of each of the missions is you're trying to either mine something or go down deep in a cave and find something and bring it back, or go down deep in a cave and kill something and then go home. That's like the basic premise.
Okay.
But within that, the different classes are kind of where the main gameplay gets fleshed out. I guess I'll do a brief description of them. There's like a scout class who has a grappling hook who can like maneuver around the caves really easily. There's a driller class that has drills. So basically, if you ever can't get around something, they can just drill a straight line to wherever you need to go, and you can follow that. There's a traditional gunner class that just shoots, and it can also make kind of like zip lines that you can travel across if you need to get out one way or another. And then the last class is an engineer that sets up turrets, and they can make platforms that you can jump on. So any class by themselves kind of has their own way of getting around if they need to, which is nice. But it's a lot of fun playing with 4 players and having each person be a different class, because you get some really cool synergies. Like, for example, you can have the engineer set up a platform really far up high, and the scout can like take a grappling hook up and land on it, and then mine something that's in a hard to get to place. But in general, the way it works is like similar to Left 4 Dead. You basically have these like spiders that attack you. This is probably why Dave hasn't played it. I just realized. These like spider monsters that attack you, and there's periodic waves where there's bigger monsters that'll attack you. It doesn't really have as much variety as like Left 4 Dead 2 proper, where there's like 8 or 10 different special things. Most of the special things kind of run together. Maybe there's only like 6 or 7 or so, but there's not as dramatic differences of them. There's a few like one-off bad guys that change gameplay, like they might pick you up and try and carry you somewhere, that type of thing. But yeah, in general, it's just a really good like shooter co-op, turn your brain off but have fun shooting and communicating with one another type of game. And I guess within each of the missions, there's always like secondary objectives where it's like collect this much of this resource or do this thing. So yeah, the missions have enough variability to them that it kind of stays fresh as you play. And then on top of that, there's like a leveling up system that's really nice, where as you play with a single character, they level up, and so you can customize the gear that you have to kind of I guess be better suited at whatever the class you are. So for example, I keep bringing up the scout class with the grappling hook. They unlock an ability where they reduce falling damage that they take, which is really helpful for that class since you're kind of flying up high a lot of times, and sometimes you can fall to the ground. Yeah, so it's been a lot of fun. If you're looking for that type of game, I think it's a really good replacement for something like Left 4 Dead or Rocket League or whatever.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention, all these people are dwarves. It's the entire premise is like you're dwarves digging in these science fiction planets and then doing this for monetary gain.
Yeah.
Why's that gotta matter to you, Ben?
It's a very charming aesthetic, and I didn't want to go without mentioning it since it's a very big part of the game, I guess.
Yeah.
They also have a really good single player mode with it too, where if you play single player, you have like a robot who you can kind of like you can customize like their abilities to do certain things. So you can like have them mine for you, or you can have them be a light for you instead of. I guess one of the mechanics that's kind of cool of the game is like so the caves are completely dark, but you generate flares like every so often. So even though it sounds weird, a fun mechanic is throwing flares and seeing how the map lights up as you're like going deeper and deeper within it.
I get it.
Anyway, yeah. But anyway,
like drop it down a hole and watch it just keep on going.
You can do that if you find a hole that's deep like that. Yeah, for sure. More often it's like there might be like a cliff or something like that. You throw a flare in front of you and then it accidentally falls off the cliff and then you lose all your light and you're like, shucks. But, you know. But yeah, no, it has a serviceable single player if you want to play that way. But it's definitely, I feel like it's more fun to play if you can get a group of 4 together. It's a pretty solid experience. So, yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, okay, I guess that was new then. Sorry, I thought I had mentioned that before.
Nope.
I checked our site. You have not talked about it on the show before.
Okay, sweet. And then I guess similar to Call of Duty, you can prestige with them. So I think once they get to level 25, you can reset their levels back to 1. And I don't think I mentioned this. There's like an overarching like mission or like I forget what it's called. Like it's basically missions, but like what it is like say it'll have different rewards for it. And there's one for each class for like unlocking their alternate weapons. So for example, the driller, his primary weapon's a flamethrower. If you do this like mission, which is like a set of 3 different caves or three different submissions or whatever. You unlock his alt weapon, which is like a freeze gun instead. So there's some cool variability with that. And yeah, I don't know. I still haven't gotten to the bottom. I haven't drilled down to the bottom of the game yet, in the sense that I haven't. There's like things called like deep dives, but you have to prestige with the character before you can do them. Right. So there's still content that I haven't gotten to yet, but I'm not really rushing through it. It's more just playing it when people are available to play it. So
nice.
But yeah, if any of you guys pick this up, let me know and do some co-op or something.
Yeah, that might put me over the edge on it. Yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
Deep Rock Galactic.
Yeah.
Cool.
What? Was someone going to say something?
Oh no, Jala just said cool. I believe.
Yeah.
The other game I want to talk about is continue talking about. I know I talked about this one is Disco Elysium. I continued playing that one last week as well. I've finally gotten through. I think I've picked a character class and have gone with it now. I'm trying the logic build in that game where you're just trying to deduce the crime scenes really well. So I've gotten through the first day, the in-game day of it. I think the game takes place over like 4 or 5 days. I'm not 100% sure of that. But it's pretty cool. There's like a really cool system where at the end of the day, you have like a partner, essentially. It's very tropey in terms of like the story in a sense where it's like, you're a cop. I guess the difference is like you have amnesia and you can go crazy if you want to. But you have a very straight-laced partner to balance you out sort of thing. So it's that type of buddy cop trope going on. Yeah. But a nice mechanic is like at the end of the day, you can debrief with your buddy cop and like they talk about like, like what you've done so far in the world and what you should continue doing and like what are the important threads. And so it's like it's a very kind of sophisticated game in the sense that there's so many like dangling missions and it handles it all really well, especially with like the different ways your abilities filter into conversations. I think I mentioned it last week, the one example where like somebody makes a historical reference, and if you have the encyclopedic knowledge, you can pick up on that. But if you have like empathic knowledge, then you can say, oh, he was like trying to mean this when he said this. Like you interpret in the emotional content. That kind of persists throughout the game. There's a lot of abilities that you have that can spring up or respond to different people talking. And so it feels like it's very, very deep because like I'm only seeing my loadout, which is like a fourth of the character abilities. So it does make me really curious to go back through with different other loadouts and see what other content's there. I don't know if I have too much to say about it. It's still interesting. I can't remember if I mentioned the thought jar portion of it or not. There's one thing where it's like from different dialogues, you can gain thoughts that you can kind of like focus on in the back of your mind. And so after a certain amount of time, that'll become like part of your like consciousness and it can like change your abilities. And so it could be good or bad or neutral. One thing I didn't realize is so you don't know what the effect's going to be until after the time. But once you have it, then it takes like you get skill points when you upgrade. And you can either put that directly into stats, like I'm going to upgrade my empathy stat or whatever, or you can use it to add these like thoughts or spaces for these like thoughts, which kind of modify those things as well. But the one thing that's interesting is you have to spend skill points to get rid of thoughts too. So if it turns out to be something that you're not really interested in, you're kind of burned on that and you have to kind of go back and undo that. So it's kind of interesting, like auxiliary way to do upgrading. That's like not direct. The one thing that's interesting about it is like it's content locked. So like if you're a certain build, then you're not going to see certain thoughts, and then so you're not going to get those effects. So that's kind of interesting as well, like to have two different parallel upgrade systems. I don't know. It's an interesting game so far. I'm still not over the fence of like seeing that it's like, oh, this is the greatest game of the year type thing that I think a lot of people have been saying. But it's definitely not bad. It's definitely respectable. So
you don't have to answer this if this is too spoilery. Like, are you any closer to figuring out the mystery of what you are?
Maybe like one scene closer, but even that, it's like it's equally confusing. So I don't know if two confusing scenes bring any more clarity than one confusing scene.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
I don't know.
Nice.
The visuals and the dialogue are really, really good in certain places. So,
Man, I still want to play this game quite a bit.
Yeah, there's definitely, I feel like a hump that you have to get over because I feel like I died a whole bunch when I was trying to play this for the first time. I think once you kind of take off your water wings or whatever, you can kind of hit escape velocity where you know what to do and what not to do. Like if it's a red check that only has 8% chance of it succeeding, it's like, I think I'm going to skip that probably.
8% means 8%.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
don't.
And I figured out how the
Hey, in XCOM, 8% means this is as good as it gets, buddy.
yeah,
Right.
that is the normal. I figured out how they do the roll system, which is interesting. Is the idea is so it'll be a roll on a certain stat, like Encyclopedia, for example, is one I named before. So you have an ability in it that's going to be like a fixed number. That's usually like 0 through 6 or 7 or something at the outset. And then on top of that, you do a 2d6 roll. So you can roll on, up to, I don't know. So you can roll up to like 19 maybe or so. Mm-hmm. And so the checks, they say what the checks are, I think after the fact maybe, but the checks are usually like 10 or 12 or something like that. And so it could be like 14 as well or something like that. So there's certain cases where you have no chance of hitting it if you're completely like 0 at a skill. But that's how it determines the probability. So I thought that I was happy to figure that out at least.
Yeah. Does it explain that anywhere, or did you just deduce that by looking at the outcomes?
It doesn't like explicitly tell you that, but there's enough information there to figure it out. Gotcha. So like, yeah. Because like after you do a check, it'll say what your number is and say what the check number is, and it'll say what the die roll was specifically too.
Oh, so, yeah, so you can. Yeah,
I used the logic, which is the biggest stat that I have in this character, to figure out that mechanic.
Wait a minute. I mean, it's hard to tell with this particular game. Did your character in the game notice that? And you did it?
No.
Okay, all right. You used your own meta. Like
it has not gotten that meta yet.
It's a weird game. Like I didn't know if you were serious about it. Huh. Yeah,
the main characters of your brain that talk to you are reptilian brain and limbic system.
Yeah.
There's another mechanic that gets unlocked that's interesting too, where you can like interrogate items that you pick up throughout the game. So for example, like I found a racist coffee cup in a garbage can, and you can talk to the coffee cup and it'll talk back to you like in an internal dialogue. So you might be going crazy, but I mean, you can do those sorts of things.
There's a character class in Pathfinder called the Occultist that has the ability to do like object readings, and like you can if you like concentrated on an item for a certain amount of time, you like get a sense of if there was any strong feelings attached to that item from its previous owner and stuff like that. So I don't know how much they use that for laughs versus for actual like intrigue, but there's definitely something there.
Yeah, it's used very well in this game because it's both like comical and unnerving, and that's kind of like the motif of the game. So, yeah,
nice.
Yeah, so good story, good world building. Oh yeah, by the way, the game is not set in like planet Earth 1950s. It's set in the 1950s, but it is elsewhere. It's some like strange society where it's like some like dream type society or whatever, where I mean there's like islands and there's a bunch of similar stuff to Earth, but like the car looks different and like it's like a weird like historical retelling or whatever, which I didn't really pick up on the first week that I played it. So eventually you're just like, oh, like none of these things exist on the planet. Like the thing that I mentioned, like being a historical reference or whatever, I just thought it was something like, oh, I just haven't heard of that before, but that sounds like it's something French or something maybe. And it's just like, no, that's just something that does not exist.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Game sounds badass.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Cool. I'll do mine, but it'll be pretty quick because there's not a whole lot that I can say about it. Just because it is a narrative game. So over the weekend, I finished Lorelei, and I talked about that. Basically said everything I can say about that last week. It's still great. Like, play all those games by Harvester, Cat Lady, Downfall, and Lorelei. They tell a good story altogether. That's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is Devotion.
Yeah.
Devotion, if you're listening to this and saying, oh, that seems to ring a bell. This is a game by a Taiwanese developer. Their previous game is called Detention, that is about kind of like 1960s Taiwan during just a really bad crackdown that happened there. You might remember Devotion. It came out earlier this year, and it was very quickly pulled from electronic storefronts all over the internet because of an art asset that was within the game that made textual reference comparing Xi Jinping to Winnie the Pooh. And the developer,
and this is the one that kind of brought that whole Winnie the Pooh thing into the global consciousness.
No, the Winnie the Pooh thing was global even before that. Like this was the first time it really popped up in games, maybe. But like it was a known no. But it was like just if you believe the developer, which I do, if given a choice to side against the Chinese government, I might take that choice. Yeah. But the developers said, that was like a placeholder that was put in, or it was from a contractor that it was a mistake. They went in, they pulled it out, they said, okay, we pulled it out. However, Chinese gamers review bombed it basically to shit, and it was pulled from the stores. And also I think the studio's license to publish things was pulled as a result of this as well. It's some bullshit. It shouldn't have happened. And it's kind of the story of the game, which is a shame because the actual game itself is really, really good. This takes place in the 80s in Taiwan. You're playing as a father. You have a small daughter and you have a wife. However, things have gone horribly wrong, and you are kind of exploring your apartment over 3 or 4 different time periods and going through kind of these different events that took place with a very strong supernatural and occult kind of thing. Like, this takes very heavy cues from PT. It takes very heavy cues from Layers of Fear, with some dashes of What Remains of Edith Finch thrown in there, as you are trying to piece together precisely what happens. And the answer to precisely what happens is fucking heartbreaking. Not that was going to be a huge revelation given the genre or the studio's previous works, or anything you could gather from the first 10 minutes of this movie.
To be fair, a lot of body parts break in this game, not just the heart.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, this takes home the Outlast Whistleblower Award for making Kole gag on stream.
Yeah.
It happened, folks. It's real rough.
Yeah.
So you can see all that on the stream archives. The unfortunate part is, like, you can't buy this game. It's not available for sale. Basically, I don't know if it will ever be available for sale anymore. However, you can go on Google and find an ISO. So do what I did and just like go onto their PayPal and send them money, or buy some extra copies of Detention and gift it to people. Like, it is a wonderful game. It is extremely scary, extremely unnerving, a good story, well told in a setting that you just don't see an awful lot of. Just like, I don't know what it was like in Taiwan in the 1980s. That in itself is unique. Seeing the slice of life, like what a lower class apartment would look like over the course of these years is interesting, even just anthropologically, even without the supernatural spooky stuff that that happens. It's remarkable, and I don't know, I feel like I finished the year strong on these on these streams between Lorelei and this for like very emotionally affecting stories.
It seems there's like a wide variety of gameplay too in the Devotion. Like, it seems like every 10 or 15 minutes you're playing like a different game style or game type,
Yeah. Has some neat puzzles. I never really hit any real walls with it, which is interesting because usually I hit a point where I have to grope around, fruitlessly, trying to find the way forward. In this one, everything was real smooth, but it never felt like it was just handing everything to me. It was just rewarding me for paying attention. It was rewarding me for being unable to look away, let's say. And it has all kinds of really cool set pieces that, even if the majority of them do not break you out of the first person kind of thing, you are accomplishing different things in different spaces, even though fundamentally you are locked in the apartment at these different times. Any questions or comments? Jala, I know you were around at the beginning. Ben, I know you were around at the end when I streamed this.
Yeah, I was only popping in for a little bit. My dad had some issues and I needed to take care of him, so like I just kind of popped back out again.
Yeah.
And didn't show back up for family reasons, but it looked interesting from the bit I saw of it.
Yeah. Ben?
So.
Yeah, I think, as I said before, that was the thing that impressed me the most, is just like the variability of the game was what struck me the most. I think you called it out too in the stream, where it's like they show like live action videos on the TV screen when you watch them. It's just like a bunch of tiny things like that where it's like, well, that's like a lot of work to program, and it's just like they're kind of I don't know, dotted along the game, I guess.
Yeah. No, they did live action shoots for this, and that is not cheap. Yeah. I just felt bad for the studio because they made something amazing and people deserve to see it and they deserve to be compensated for it.
Yeah.
So it's not just what happened to them. They made something too good to be ignored.
No.
And people can't get a hold of it. So
is there a way to pay the studio money just directly?
You can still buy Detention, and so if you just do a search for Devotion Game, you can see the link to their developer page, and there's a PayPal link on there. So
okay.
Yep. But Devotion is incredibly good. I was very happy that I got a chance to play it, even if I had to go to, let's say, less than scrupulous means to get a hold of it. So bad on me for not buying it when it was new.
Damn it, Kole, you just didn't buy everything.
I mean, part of what put it into a lot of people's consciousness was the controversy around it. So, I don't know about your situation. It's not like I was aware of the game and sitting on it while it was available.
Yeah. No, I was aware of it. I was just waiting for it to go on sale, like a dummy. So, oh well. But that's all. That's all I've got. That's all I wanted to share about. Get a hold of it if you can. I recommend it very highly. It's like 3 hours. It's like a sitting and a half. So
it's good to discover good things.
Yeah. And that's all I've got.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and then you provide us with an answer if you see fit. Dennis, what did you ask the nice people?
Yeah, I was feeling in the holiday mood, so I told people to pick a favorite video game character and then tell us what interesting things would be on their Christmas wish list.
Assuming they celebrate. We don't want to.
Of course.
Yeah.
We all know that Goombas are pagan revelers, so
yes.
We'll take some liberties there.
But they
need to be stomped out.
they might want something for Yule,
Yes, indeed. And Yule is on the day I'm streaming, as a matter of fact.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway.
Will you have any mead?
I don't do mead. Mead is honey.
God, fuck me. Sorry. I like my idea of where food comes from is such that I forget that honey comes from animals.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
I will. I was considering it's going to be too early in the morning for me to have anything in the morning when I was streaming, but I will be drinking when I'm watching the thing later when you're back on. So.
But I'll get us started here with Greg, who says Link from The Legend of Zelda. Pottery. Lots and lots of pottery.
Good answer.
Yeah.
No chickens, though.
No chickens.
Awkward Christmas. Thanks for the present. Smash.
Oh, you really like it.
How do you think it would react to clay pigeons?
Oh, boy.
Mixed feelings.
And a clay pigeon
awesome.
in a pear tree. No, what kind of tree would it be?
A deku tree?
Yeah.
Yeah. Took me a second. Jala, what does Lindsay say?
Lindsay says the chosen undead has been good all year, and all he wants is a Baldur side sword. Also, would it kill Manus to glitch out, kill himself? Because I sure can't.
Yeah, no, Manus is too much. No, people will still send me links. Will still send me screenshots of when they get the Baldur side sword, because it was a minor meme in the first season of Bonfireside Chat, because it's a rare, a rarish drop, and I always wanted to make a build out of it, but I never got one to drop. However, I did get one when we did the Victory Lap season around the end of the kind of the main run of the show, but my character was not spec'd for it. It's like the one time I decided to do a big, heavy, two-hand hit people guy. I get the dex sword. So
That's it. Yes.
yeah. Let's see, Ben. What does Ollie say?
Ollie says, Joel from The Last of Us. He's getting a new herbal remedy that will allow him to remain calm. It's called a chill pill, and hot damn does he need it.
But it's
Can't dispute that.
It's hard.
Can he just
Spoiler.
get his old daughter for a Christmas present or something? I might fix
Boy,
it.
oh
Yeah,
boy.
it's a very Pet Cemetery Christmas. Dennis, what does Casey say?
He says, Gordon Freeman just wants a shiny new crowbar that works in VR. Oh, yeah. You know that crowbar VR is going to be a thing.
Yeah, maybe they're being coy about whether or not that's going to come to PSVR. I don't know. I don't know, guys.
I hope so.
I hope so too. So I don't have to spend $1,000 fucking to play that goddamn game.
Boy.
Mike says, I know what's at the top of the wish for the Ashen One from Dark Souls 3. Some goddamn poise. Sent away to finishing school, I guess. He should walk with a book on his head. I don't know.
That's right. Yeah, shoulders back.
Jala, what does Alexander say?
Alexander says, given how much joy Jessie Faden from Control has brought me this year, I want to get her something for Christmas. But what do you get for the girl who has everything? She's already got her own clandestine psychic investigation agency, superpowers, a dope house, and a sharp new suit. Maybe I'd give her world's best director mug. That'd be cute. Just remember, any presents you get the director cannot be iconic or totemic in nature. Those are banned.
No, bottles of ketchup, pencils, etc. God, I need to finish that game. It's so good. And they released DLC.
Really?
Yeah, no, it was a Game Awards thing. Yeah.
Given what's the style of horror? We spent an extensive amount of time talking about it the first time Control came up, and I forget the
SCP, Secure Control
SCP.
Protect.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, given just the nature of that, the sheer amount of material out there for it is staggering.
Yeah. Ben, what does Nathan say?
Nathan says, Revolver Ocelot has a framed portrait of Big Boss signed by the man himself. You're pretty good. The frame is engraved. It looks nice, but offers no artistic advantage whatsoever.
Yeah.
Nice.
It seems like that'd make his day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then Lindsay says, very sweetly, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to all of you on the level. Thank you for the awesome content all year long. I appreciate that.
Aw.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for listening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why should this week be any different? I'm going to do a Silent Hill example. Let's say Harry Mason, a radio that goddamn works.
Solve a lot of problems.
Yeah. And that's super easy. Like, just buy yourself a weather radio. Keep it cranked up. It's fine. How about you, Jala?
I don't really have a great answer. I really didn't have an answer for this. So I'm just going to say the kid from Bedtime Blues wants anything other than a teddy bear.
Yes.
Anything other than a teddy bear. Anything else is on the table except that.
What eats a teddy bear? A teddy Goldilocks.
The thing is that bear in Bedtime Blues is exactly what I suspected the bear was from Among the Sleep. Because in that game, when I was playing that for the first time, I'm like, that bear's going to kill me. He has crazy eyes. The whole time. I was like, that bear is crazy. He's going to kill me. He's going to go ape shit and kill me. I know it. And then he didn't. But I was waiting for it literally the entire game.
He's still scary enough without.
Yeah.
Yes.
Apparently, there's
too happy.
you mentioned oh gosh, that game Among the Sleep, and for some reason that brought back Amber Journeys Beyond. Apparently, there's a team that's making a remake of Amber Journeys Beyond. Oh, good.
When it comes out, you belatedly need to play that game on stream.
Absolutely. I liked what I played so far. It just they responded to some tweets like, thumbs up.
Awesome.
Do your thing, guys. Let's see. Ben, how about you?
I'll go with the Christmas answer. I'm going to say that the snowman in Mario 64 is going to give Mario his hat back.
Aw. Because the real gift is giving. Yeah. And Dennis.
Yeah, the one that came to mind for me is a very, very deep cut, but I was going to give Daxter from Jak and Daxter some pants.
Yeah. Does he want pants, or
there's a pronounced line from Jak 2 where he, he's ranting about how much it sucks to be him, and he's like, oh, whatever, and I don't have any pants. God, I miss pants.
I didn't know if that was his choice, if he opted to be ungovernable, but
it's not a fad, Kole.
No, I didn't say it was. If it's his... Oh man. So thank you everybody for responding. I don't know if we're doing an episode next week. It just depends on us. But
schedules.
Yeah, it depends on schedules and stuff. But generally, if you would like to participate in these multiplayers, go to facebook.com/thelevelpodcast and watch for the prompts to go up on Monday afternoons. Thank you for posting this one, Dennis.
Yeah, my pleasure.
The end boss. Now it is time for the End Boss, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games around us, things that make us excited. I'm going to do the obligatory one because doing anything else would be lying and pretending that I'm more excited about something else.
People would reach out to enforce the story.
Yeah,
if you didn't do it.
Yeah, and also it's the one that happened longest ago. They announced this like a day after we recorded last week, so I want to make sure that people know. Resident Evil 3 is getting a remake in the same vein as the Resident Evil 2 remake, and I could not be more excited about it. The reveal trailer is very good. Gary and I did a Duckfeed Presents for patrons, where we kind of did our first reactions to the game. People who are only half aware of this, Resident Evil 3 is the one where Nemesis is introduced. And it's like in the original iteration, it's a bit underrated. People thought that it reused too much of the previous games, but actually, like, it is the best mechanical expression of that style of RE game. And it is very badass. And this is going to be the game that kind of takes you out into the streets of Raccoon City during the infection. And it's going to be super exciting to have more people get to see Jill Valentine's travails on the day before and the day after RE2. I am just so psyched about this, tying it back into a previous multiplayer or a previous end boss. Maybe it was a brief of the time when they announced Project Resistance, that kind of Left 4 Dead style re-envisioning of Resident Evil Outbreak. That is actually this game's multiplayer mode, which is pretty exciting as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like all of this is of a piece. So I couldn't be more excited, and like it comes out in 4 months, which is like the perfect amount of time between an announcement and a release to my mind. Like, yes, that is just enough time where like I get the two joys. I get, okay, I can be excited about this now, but then I don't have to like forget about it. I like it'll be here like right when I blink, and it's already out. Hi guys. So RE3 remake, couldn't be happier about this.
I'm excited because it increases the probability of an RE4 remake.
RE4 is perfect as it is if you cut out the middle third. It's more than perfect. You have to take stuff away to make it perfect.
Outbreak. Whee!
Yeah. Oh man, I need to do a stream of Outbreak sometime.
Yeah.
Let's see here, Jala. What's going on the Switch?
So there's a new peripheral from Hyperkin that lets you use an N64 controller on the Switch, or also on PC and Mac, actually. The adapter plugs into the Switch dock via USB, with the other end being the input standard for the N64 controller. So that means that you can have a more authentic experience playing stuff like Doom 64, Turok, and Turok 2. I don't know if there's anything else that's Nintendo 64 so far on Switch, but I'm sure they're going to bring more.
There's probably some psycho who wants to play Smash Ultimate with that.
That's true. That's true. So anyway, just wanted to drop that in there for Switch owners who like an N64. This is a thing. So
Hypercane is the company that does like the Retron. So this is their space.
Yeah.
Or a space they have played it in the past.
Yeah. That's all I got. That's it.
Yep. Ben, what's going on with the Outer Worlds?
I was going to say, similarly short news, The Outer Worlds, they're making DLC. It's coming out sometime 2020. Nothing else is said about it.
Yay!
It was kind of in doubt whether they would do that, but I guess the game got enough of a response that it was.
So I thought about this in hindsight. There's like 3 planets that they show on the map that you never go to in the game. So it's like, well, they got to do something with that, I suppose. So
you would suppose.
Cool. And then Dennis, tell me one thing that happened at the Game Awards.
Yeah, so besides the new console launch, which continues the tradition of horrible, confusing names for Xbox
It's just
consoles.
the Xbox now. Nobody should know what you're talking about.
You know what? No, because now it's the Xbox Series X. Yes, I know it's in the X series. What is going on? They showed a sequel for a game that I did not think would get a sequel.
Seemed pretty final.
Yeah. So that they're doing a sequel for Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, called, and it looks like they've got it reversed now.
Senua Saga Hellblade 2. One
And so the first game was Hellblade in front. This game's Hellblade in back. It's just Hellblades all over the place. The actress behind this is so phenomenal. I'm just excited to see her work more as this character.
Yeah.
Like anything that allows me to see more of that is going to be good. But as you said, Kole, does Hellblade end with an exclamation point? And it is a complete story, and it is a small story, and it is a story that talks just speaks so well to something that does not get enough attention, and just the way it handles psychosis in a very, very powerful and authentic way. And so I just get worried when the trailer for the sequel is the main character from the first game belting out metal screamo lyrics. Like, their big announcement is that they're partnering with some metal band that I've never heard of before. So I don't know what the connection is. And the trailer kind of features it's just got like Hellblade, fuck yeah, kind of vibe to it that is totally antithetical to the first game.
Wait, they gave it to Treyarch Studios to make?
Yeah, pretty much. So, and by the way, no shade at heavy metal music.
I mean, like, it needs to be deployed in a place where it makes sense, one would think.
Like Doom.
Yeah.
And possibly, I mean, tapping into the rage and everything of the character, I could see that. But the way the trailer comes across is as a, heavy metal hype music video.
Yeah.
And that couldn't be further from what makes the original Hellblade so great.
In fairness, that trailer could not have been worse than the Dark Alliance trailer that they put out for Dungeons and Dragons. So it had that
not
going.
a good time for trailers.
for metal trailers. Fuck, man.
But yeah, so I'm excited because the component pieces of Hellblade are so strong that I'm excited to see more of them. I am preparing myself for them to not add up to as much of a whole as the original game did.
Yeah, it's a bummer. Yeah, everybody was like, is this necessary?
Yeah. But yeah, we will see. I reserve judgment. This could... it's interesting. I think we probably had a discussion at some point about the original game, how like Senua's Sacrifice is such a better title, but the marketers felt the need to put Hellblade on there, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe this is one of those situations where the marketers needed this to be a, fuck yeah, badass metal song trailer, and the game behind it is going to be exactly what the first game was. That's my hope, and I'm sticking to it.
You know, maybe this is something that Ninja Theory is doing. Like Microsoft bought them and said, hey, make us another Hellblade, and then you can make the game that you want to make. Maybe. I'm writing fan fiction about studios at this point, so I don't know that it's necessarily fair for me to suppose that maybe they want to make this. Maybe they thought there was more to the story that they could tell. But yeah, like I think everybody's reaction was just okay. when they saw it.
Well, it maybe, the type of person that's getting hype for the Game Awards and the Xbox Series X or whatever is, I feel bad even saying it, is not the type of person that really got excited for the kind of game that Hellblade actually was, like the original.
Lots of folks in our community were like, watching the Game Awards live, and we're like, okay, so cool. Yeah, here's that. Like, I don't know if it's necessarily the kind of person. It's just like maybe they were aiming for they were aiming for a hypothetical person that, just like a broader, a broader appeal than the actual final thing has.
That's actually probably a better way of saying it. The hypothetical person that this was aimed at doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Which, yeah.
Maybe. Who knows? How do you all feel about buttoning it up?
I feel buttons.
Me too.
Buttony.
The credit. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to this episode of the level number 309. We really appreciate it. If you have not listened to it yet and you're interested in doing so, consider going back and listening to the bonus level Jala and I released about Danganronpa V3 and the Danganronpa visual novel series as a whole. People seem to dig it. Also, consider tuning in to Duckstream here this weekend. It'll be a very good time. I am led to believe, based on past experiences. Go to Duckfeed.tv/Duckstream or Twitch.tv/Duckfeed.tv to watch that beginning December 20th at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, and continuing for 48 hours thereafter. It will be a good time, even if you cannot contribute financially, which we understand. Please pop into the chat and talk. Raise the ruckus for us, because it's a nice little like temporary culture that pops up in the chat for that event. Develops its own in-jokes. This is the first time in a while that I will be in the first 24 hours. So at this point, I will be inflicting memes on the Portland crew as opposed to the other way around. So we gotta
make the memes now.
we gotta workshop some just real alienating stuff for those guys. Take Will Hughes down a peg.
Gonna have to read the Wikipedia article on Portland now between now and then.
But those are the big things. Look on social media for the Title of the Year awards and the alternate Title of the Year awards. We will get those worked out for you. Might not announce the results until beginning of next year, but that will be okay and fine. Mm-hmm. This is longer than most admin stuff goes. The usual stuff. Guys, am I forgetting anything?
No.
Okay.
So.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, yeah. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Please be safe and have fun, whatever you decide to do, even if it's nothing. Yeah. So I've been Kole Ross. You can watch my streams on Twitch at Duckfeed.tv.
I've been Dennis Furia at Deck of Wonders on Twitter and Twitch, but on Twitter it's got underscores between the letters. Which, by the way, I officially signed a contract to get art going for the game, so
Sweet.
Super excited.
Nice. Yeah. Congratulations.
That's me.
You have legal obligations.
Yeah, that's fun.
I'm Jala-chan in places.
I'm Merkleby in places.
And stick around for some titles. Okay. I only have one, which is no, never. Which is what Jala said when I threw to her. I forget for what.
Yeah,
Just
for
forget
the
about-
grind.
Yeah.
For the grind. So yeah, I've got a few.
Okay.
So everything shooter. That was something that Dennis was talking about in his grind.
Okay.
Not bad, comma respectable. that was also Dennis.
Okay.
A very Pet Cemetery Christmas.
Okay.
Studio fan fiction.
Okay. Yeah.
And Buttony.
Okay. Dennis, what you got?
I was bad. I don't have anything.
Okay.
Took the David vibe this time around.
No, that's fine. Ben, what you got?
Speaking of which, I only have one, but it's a mean one. It's called "Don't Be a Dave."
Oh.
It's not necessarily referring to David Money Smith. It could be
No,
referring to
there are
anyone.
many Daves.
Any Dave.
Yeah.
Don't be any Dave.
Who has a strong feeling?
I have
Greta
no
doesn't
feeling.
count.
I laughed at the Dave one, but that's because I know Dave's. So
Yes. Yeah.
What was the Christmas one? Pet
A very Pet Cemetery Christmas.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no opinions.
Okay. Well, do you want me to do like a poll on
I think
Slack and see?
You should just do like a monologue and edit it back in at the beginning of the show, and then make whatever that's about
You
the
just want to
title.
reverse engineer a title. I'll do a poll.
okay,
Yeah.
bowl it up.
Cool. Nice.